You wake up in the middle of a forest clearing. The ground is frozen beneath your knees. Your hands are tied behind your back with rough animal sinew. All around you, the night hums with drums, chanting, and the distant howling of wolves. Above you rises a towering shape, a wooden pole carved with twisted faces, mouths open in silent screams. It's a Hurger, a Norse sacrificial shrine. Behind it stands a figure in a black cloak made of animal hides. His face is painted bone white, his eyes lined in soot. He holds a staff topped with a ram's skull. He's not a warrior. He's something worse. He is a Gothi, a Viking priest. A man chosen not for kindness or wisdom, but for his ability to speak to gods who demanded blood. He steps toward you. The chanting grows louder. The firelight flickers on the sharpened ritual knives. This isn't a nightmare. This is what happened in Norse pagan ritual centers, from Uppsala to Lade, from Iceland to Denmark, in the centuries before Christianity arrived. And what I'm about to show you is the part of Viking religion they never teach in school. The secret rites, the virgin sacrifices, the initiation rituals, described by Arab travelers, Christian chroniclers, and archaeological evidence buried beneath ancient temples. If you stay until the end, you'll never look at Viking religion the same way again. Hollywood lied about Viking religion. You've seen Odin, Thor, runestones, mead halls, heroic myths. But you haven't seen the rituals that took place when the sun went down, when the warriors marched into the sacred grove, when the priests called on gods of war, chaos, and death. The Norse religion wasn't gentle, it wasn't philosophical, it was a bargain. Blood for blessing, life for victory, flesh for power, and the most valuable offering? Young women. Arab traveler Ibn Fadlan wrote, "Among the Northmen, the virgin is the most precious sacrifice, and they believe her spirit pleases the gods more than the blood of 1,000 men." He was not exaggerating. To understand what happened to these girls, you need to understand the role of the Viking priest. The Gothar weren't like Christian priests. They were sorcerers, political leaders, judges, executioners, and mediums for the dead. Their power didn't come from kindness. It came from fear. And their rituals, cold, precise, terrifyingly organized. We know this from the Saga of the Inglings, Adam of Bremen's Gesta, Hammaburgensis, Ibn Fadlan's travel diaries, archaeological remains of sacrificial pits filled with female bones, temple sites at Uppsala, Tisu, Borg, and Hofstadir. These sources paint the same picture, a world where ritual purity meant only one thing, a virgin body offered to the gods. Now imagine you're one of them. You're taken from your village after a bad harvest, a plague, a lost battle. Because when disaster struck, the priests blamed the same thing every imam, time. The gods are angry. And someone had to pay. You're brought to a sacred grove, thick trees, animal bones hanging from branches, ravens perched like silent judges. In the center is a stone platform, stained darker than the rocks around it. You're not alone. Other girls, terrified, trembling, stand in a line beside you, heads shaved by the priest's assistants. The priests begin the ritual of Utiseta, sitting out under the moon, calling on the dead. They chant to Odin, Freyr, and Freya, but not the friendly gods from Marvel movies. These are the gods that demanded offerings, the kind only virgins could provide. Now comes the part almost no historian dares to describe in detail. The priests believed virgins had unspoiled spiritual energy, a pure power that could open the veil between worlds. So they performed rituals designed to break that boundary. The sagas call these rites blot, sacrifice. Adam of Bremen wrote, 9 every 9th year they sacrificed, horses, dogs, and men. And the maidens, they hung in the grove so the gods could see them. Archaeologists have found ropes, post holes for hanging bodies, pits filled with female remains, bones showing cut marks consistent with ritual execution. But the priests didn't always kill the girls immediately. Some were subjected to cedar, a dark magic ritual associated with Odin and the vulvas. The vulva, a female seer, would walk around the bound girl, chanting spells meant to extract spiritual power. Ibn Fadlan saw this firsthand. The priestess placed a cord around her neck, uttered words the girl did not understand, and when she stopped struggling, the ritual was accepted. This practice, half magic, half execution, was known as the tightening of the cord. The sagas never call it murder. They call it offering. Now we enter the darkest part of the ritual. The priests believed the gods needed not just death, but fear, pain, and submission. They would smear the girls' faces with animal blood, dress them in white linen, then parade them around the temple while chanting, "She goes unwilling to the gods, therefore her spirit is strong." This wasn't symbolic. This was part of the theology. A willing sacrifice had little power. A terrified one? That had value. And then came the final ritual. The blood of the maiden. The girl was placed on the altar. A priest stood behind her with a ceremonial blade. Another held a bowl carved with runes. The priest would whisper, "May her blood bring the harvest." Then the knife descended. The blood was sprinkled on the idols. The body was hung in the grove or buried under the temple. Sometimes burned, sometimes cut apart and fed to sacred animals. This wasn't metaphor. This was policy. This was religion. But here's the part almost no one talks about. Some girls didn't die. Some were kept alive for prophecy. These girls were forced into trance rituals meant to summon visions. They were kept isolated, starved, drugged with henbane or fly agaric mushrooms. If they survived the visions, the priests used them again. If they didn't, their bodies were buried in shallow pits found across Scandinavia, their hands tied, their mouths stuffed with cloth or earth to silence their spirits. Archaeologists call these graves ritual restraints, but the priests had another term, shaming the unwilling. The most horrific ritual of all happened at Uppsala, described by Adam of Bremen. Every 9 years the Vikings sacrificed 9 men, 9 horses, 9 dogs, and 9 maidens. Their bodies hung from the sacred trees until ravens picked them clean. Not myths, not exaggeration. Archaeologists found 1,000+ bones there, many belonging to young women. And here's what should disturb you most. The Viking Age ended not because these rituals became immoral, but because Christianity spread and kings outlawed pagan rites under threat of execution. The priests didn't repent. They were replaced. Their temples were torn down, their groves burned, but the stones remember. The pits remain. The idols soaked in blood still lie buried under churches and farmland. And the voices of the girls, the ones history didn't think worthy of recording, are still there in the soil of Scandinavia, if you know where to look. If this revealed a side of Viking religion you've never heard before, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're not done uncovering the darkest corners of the past. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next investigation.